Happy Friday, friends. This is Neil Adler with another episode of Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. What'd y'all get into? What'd you eat? What'd you drink? What'd you do? Drop me comments. Come on, let me know. I want to know. I had a good time. Hung out with family, son, cousin, twin brother, parents, friends. Good times. Good times, good times, good times. And I just want to say thankful for you all. This is Syracuse Central. We focus on Syracuse basketball, football, and recruiting. And if you're so inclined, hit that subscribe button. Tell all your friends and drop me comments about what you want to hear about on this show. So we'll do some football today. As we talked about yesterday, Syracuse basketball laid an egg in Vegas, so that was a bummer. But hopefully they can regroup and get Donnie Freeman back. But Syracuse football has its final game this year, since they won't be playing in a bowl, and it's on Saturday against Boston College at the Dome, 3 o'clock on the CW. Interestingly enough, upon last glance, Boston College was the betting favorite by a couple points over Syracuse, even though Boston College has a worse record than Syracuse and they're playing on the road. But I think that tells you where Syracuse's season is right now, especially in the quarterback room. Kind of sad. It is what it is. But I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer here. Look, the season, ever since Angeli went down, Steve Angeli, the redshirt junior from Notre Dame, has been a bummer. But the team, to be fair, it's not just about the quarterback room. Offensive, defensive lines have had their issues. The defense has been up and down. Special teams, not a ton of complaints, but they've had some things here and there. And rushing game hasn't been great. So look, the quarterback position is the most important position, not only in football, but most people would say in sports. And so when you go from Steve Angeli, who was leading the country in passing yards heading into the Clemson game, which Syracuse won to get to 3-1, when he goes down and none of the other guys clearly are ready to play at this level, that's a problem. So they've lost 7 in a row, and I really hope they can beat Boston College on Saturday, and that's where I wanted to get to here. I just want to say thank you to the seniors. Look, this season sucked. It sucked. But last season was awesome. And I still think the future is bright on the Hill. We'll see if there's any coaching staff changes. We'll see who leaves, who comes in. Got a great 2026 class expected to sign in the next week or two. But yeah, just want to say thank you to the seniors. And, I'm not sure how many of them are going to pursue a professional career, but they put in the work, they put in the time. Yeah, the Notre Dame game last weekend was an embarrassment for sure, and it's been a frustrating 7-game losing streak. But like I said, last year was great, and Syracuse, prior to this year, had made 3 straight bowls. One under Fran Brown, one under Dino Babers left before the bowl game, and then they got blasted. And then 2 more before that. So they had made 3 in a row. And, we'll see how next year looks. But again, much props, much respect, much appreciation to the seniors. Yeah. Okay. So this was kind of interesting. So Fran Brown, he had an interview on ESPN Radio Syracuse on Wednesday. Obviously, I didn't get into it on Thursday because I was doing basketball stuff. But he talked about the quarterback room for 2026, and it sounds like he's focused on Angeli, incoming freshman, who's a 2026 3-star prospect, Zaid Lott from the Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then 2 transfer quarterbacks. He didn't address the other quarterbacks that Syracuse has on its roster. Redshirt sophomore Ricky Collins Jr., redshirt freshman Jakari Williams, and then 3 true freshmen. Joe Filardi, the walk-on who has his own scholarship for Syracuse men's lacrosse, Luke Carney, and Rich Bellin. Luke Carney is from the Dallas area. Rich Bellin's from New York City. So, just based on these comments, like is Fran Brown telling these other dudes that they will not have a scholarship? I mean, that's interesting. And I agree, they need to get some higher quality. And look, whether it's Ricky Collins or Carney or whoever, like maybe they'll go on to good college careers. Maybe this just isn't the right fit, or they just weren't ready this year. Whatever. Like I'm not here to trash anyone, but it was a disaster this year for sure. But like, I feel like a few weeks ago, Luke Carney said he was planning to return. Like, is Fran Brown, his comments on Wednesday, is he basically saying they won't have scholarships available for any of the other guys in the current quarterback room other than Steve Angeli? Because that's pretty interesting. So obviously things need to happen, and action needs to be taken, and this team's quarterback room needs to be a lot better. You know, Filardi's going to start against Boston College. I think Bellin is going to get some time. Obviously, Ricky Collins, there's no way he's coming back. Just, respectfully, no way. But it'll be interesting to see who they get in the portal. Because, again, Angeli was great up until he got hurt, but there's no guarantee he'll be at full strength if he's not, completely healthy. So definitely got to get it addressed. I did find those comments kind of interesting. Especially saying that like when the season's still going on, and it's like how are they supposed to like Luke Carney and these other dudes, like how are they supposed to take that? I mean, if I was in Luke Carney's shoes and I read that and I was like, all right, so I mean, maybe they've already had conversations. Who knows? And there will be quarterbacks available. But it costs money too. And I don't know how much they spent on Ricky Collins between rev share and third party NIL this year, but these guys are going to cost money. And so, but they need money for other positions too. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting for sure. All right, let's end on some recruit. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. One other thing I wanted to mention is we've talked about some of the guys that plan to come back, whether it's Angeli, who else? Byron Washington, the offensive lineman, Demetrius Samuel Jr., the freshman wide receiver, cornerback, and then Yassine Willis, the sophomore running back, among others. And then there was news, I think Syracuse.com had it. And I think Daryl Gill Jr., I believe he's a junior. Let me look that up. Daryl Gill. I should know this. Sorry. I think he's a junior. Daryl Gill Jr. is a junior. And so he's expected to return. And, obviously the wide receiver room's got a lot of talent with him and Jonte Cook and others, Jalen Hornsby, Emmanuel Ross, Justice Ross Simmons. But, it's certainly the wide receivers haven't done a ton lately because the quarterbacks have not been good. I mean, I'm just being honest. So anyway, I did want to mention that, and that's good news about Gil coming back. But now let's get to some recruiting stuff. So, we've talked about 2026 commits for Syracuse, and they've got I think 27 commits right now after 3 decommitted over the weekend, which we talked about earlier in the week on Syracuse Central. And they've got 5-star Calvin Russell, the wide receiver, along with 6 guys that are ranked 4 stars by at least one recruiting service. And one of those guys is Cameron Wilson, who's a 4-star edge, Miami Southridge High School. And interestingly enough, Steve Wiltfong with Rivals had a piece. Cameron had, and I think I wrote about this for Inside the Loud House, he took an official visit to Florida State not too long ago and visited a couple other times. And according to Wiltfong, Wilson told the Seminoles this week that he was going to flip from Syracuse to Florida State. But now Wilfong's reporting that Nick Williams, as well as GM Tommy Caparelli, they were able to hold that off. And it looks like the plan is that Cameron Wilson will stay committed to Syracuse. He verbally committed to Syracuse, I think it was in March. I think he's 4 stars according to ESPN, 3 stars in other places. But he's a really talented player. And other 4-star guys for Syracuse in this 2026 class, which is inside the top 30 according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. That's Alexander Haskell, who flipped from Penn State, the defensive lineman. Tadarius Hughes, the 4-star defensive back who plays at Miami Northwestern alongside Calvin Russell. You've got fellow 4-star edge Jarius Rogers from Plumbing Island High School in Florida, 4-star offensive tackle Javion Cooper at Melbourne Central Catholic in Florida, and then Amari Guff, a 4-star wide receiver from Thomas Jefferson High School. It's in, I hope I got that right, Richmond, Virginia. He's where he's from. So, The early signing period is December 3rd to December 5th. I've seen and heard like different reports about whether it's Cameron Wilson or Cooper or Rogers potentially flipping. I haven't seen anything yet. And obviously, if Syracuse, is able to hang on to all these guys, that's really encouraging because it'll be the highest rated class in the modern era for Syracuse, and Calvin Russell's the highest rated recruit for Syracuse in more than 20 years. And Wilson's maintained all along that he's solid with Cuse, but then apparently behind the scenes he's also said he's flipping. So, you never know with this stuff, and I'm not hating on the kid. Like, he's just doing what's best for him. But looks like he's going to stick, according to Will Fong, and that's good because it's a really nice class. So, we'll obviously see come December 3rd, but it's encouraging. It's encouraging. All right, we're going to end with one more recruiting nugget here on Friday on Syracuse Central. And this is a 4-star running back in the 2026 class, Elijah Kimball. Excuse me, the 2027 class. Definitely want to make sure I get that right. 2027 class, Elijah Kimball, 4-star running back. He's from Canisius High School in Buffalo, so not far from Syracuse. He's ranked as high as number 137 overall by Rivals, number 12 running back, and pretty much every recruiting service that I've seen has him number 1 in the New York State in the 2027 class. He's visited Syracuse at least once, I think actually a couple times. And anyway, the news here is that he dropped the top 10. Let me make sure I get it right here. So Syracuse is on the list: Michigan, Ohio State, Maryland, Florida, Kansas, Tennessee, Indiana, Washington, Miami. So, that's quite a list, obviously. And I'm not surprised that Syracuse has made that cut. And, I was looking in some chat rooms and some fellow fans were talking about, Syracuse needs to hold on to this guy because he's an elite New York recruit. And, Fran Brown needs to keep those guys home. And, I agree to that to some extent. I mean, if he decides to go to Ohio State or, some humongous school like that, like top school, like you can't really, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't really like do anything if a guy decides he wants to go to Ohio State or Michigan, right? I mean, they're just going to go. But I understand the sentiment. Fran Brown definitely wants to keep, he's made an emphasis of New York State kids, along with obviously New Jersey and the rest of the Northeast quarter. And when you've got an elite recruit like this, who's one of the best running backs in the 2027 class, a top 150 overall prospect, and again, wasn't surprised Syracuse was in his top 10. We'll see if he does further list cuts or takes an official to Syracuse, or, that's a competitive list. So right now I'd have to take the field over Syracuse, but that doesn't mean Syracuse won't win out. So we'll see. Again, recruiting looks good. The 2026 class looks good. 2027, it's early. I think they have 8 verbal pledges, and it's like top 10. Certainly getting a guy like an Elijah Kimball would like be a game changer. They have one 4-star prospect in 2027 right now. That's athlete Tristan Cuse from Ohio. And then in 2028, I got to look this up. I don't remember how many guys do they have in 2028. I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna brain fart here. They've got a couple. So 2027 they have, if this would work, 2027 they have 8 and it's ranked 7. 2028 they have, oh, that's right, it's just Omari Lawson. Okay, not just, but they have 1 right now in 2028. But that's super early. Those are sophomores. So, but again, my point here is that recruiting looks good. They're making list cuts of highly ranked dudes. They're not going to win out for all of them, but the future is bright on the hill, in my opinion. And I'll end it on that note. So hopefully Syracuse gets the win for its seniors and the 2025 season, which has been a rough one, on a positive note tomorrow on Saturday. Again, it's 3 p.m. The CW, and shout out to the seniors. Let's get that W. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you all. And have a great rest of your Friday. Have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you again on Monday. This is Neil Adler, the host of Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. We cover Syracuse basketball, football, and recruiting. If you are so inclined, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Tell your friends. Drop me comments about what you like and you don't like. And let me know how your Thanksgiving was. Much love, friends. Take care.